Someone who's pretty close to me, family wise, said, "Why does Godzilla look like a thick woman?"
What? Because he's pear shaped? Come on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Harris Peak Podcast. I am your host, Chris, with his camera straight at me. And with me today, my fun pals. We're going to be talking about some Godzilla for you. It's Mike and James. How you guys doing today?
Tired. But I love my fans. I love my audience. I love the Heroes Peak community. I'm here.
We make the sacrifice for you.
That's right. We went and saw all of these wonderful and terrible movies just to let you know whether they're wonderful or terrible.
What does Dano said? The strongest choices require
The strongest
this will.
wills.
Thank you. He's not kidding.
Well, we're going to start today. We're going to start quick and easy. We are going to do Godzilla X Kong, the new empire, which is our fifth MonsterVerse flick. I believe it's the
I
fifth
stopped
one.
counting.
I went and looked, and I still can't remember because I looked. It's number 2 at the domestic and worldwide box office right now, which is really sad because it's only at 567 million total worldwide.
Only? Oh.
Only, which
How
means
terrible.
Half of Barbie and half of
it would be like number 9 last year. And just so you know, the year of 2024, if it continues in this direction, will be the first year outside of our COVID 2020 year without a $1 billion movie since 2007. Where you had Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, making $961 million.
Hey man, still got Deadpool 3.
That's right. Deadpool does have a shot. I can't think of anything else that has a $1 billion shot though.
That's it.
This is a very depressed box office, even with some good movies that came out. A very depressed box office. But that doesn't matter. We are going to talk about this depressed movie. Sorry. All right. So this was directed by Adam Wingard, same director as last time. Different writing team, but it did include one guy, Terry Rossio, who has credits all the way back to Little Monsters and Aladdin back in '92. All right. Anyway, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Kaylee Hoddle all come back from the previous movies, but this time they're the main cast as opposed to a secondary group that's ignored.
This time's a bigger check.
That's right. This time they get a better check. And they get Dan Stevens to come along on this little adventure with them. All right. This is really a tale of two halves for me for this movie. So why don't we talk about the good half, which is on the front, and then we'll talk about the bad half, which is on the back very quickly here. What did you guys think of Godzilla Kong? Happy-go-lucky prepping for a war, and then fighting monkeys. Which is basically be the two halves of this movie.
Go ahead, Mike.
Did you enjoy the prepping?
Let me start by saying that it's pretty sad that Kong has better dental care than most Americans.
They didn't even take his credit card before they started the surgery.
Yep.
Lucky.
The dentist came to him.
Like some Canadian shit right there.
That's right. The damn communists. Yeah.
I don't know what island were they on. There was some island they were specifically on, so it definitely wasn't American soil.
Wasn't that Hollow Earth?
No, he came out.
Right.
Yeah, he came out of Hollow
to
Earth
get his tooth done.
Yeah. So the good in this movie, as per usual, with my critiques of MonsterVerse movies, is monster fighting is usually pretty good. I'll keep it like that for this one. I thought the monster fighting was good. The characters, not so much. Why was Brian Henry, as much as I like him and he's such a great actor, loved him in Atlanta. Like, why is he in this movie? Like,
because
you know what I mean?
Because you need a screaming someone who's going to scream.
Need a token minority.
What? No.
Go. That is whack.
whenever there's a monster movie, you have to have someone who just screeches all the time,
I
and he
guess.
was filling that role this time.
Yeah, but let's talk. I'm talking about the good parts right now. So visually, I thought it looked great. I liked um, all the production design, the CGI. I thought was great. Again, yeah, the monsters. I like the story of Godzilla saying, "Hey, uh, I better charge up." I like that whole charging up thing, and I need to build up because
In the
something
beginning,
huge.
yeah, in the beginning.
Yeah, something huge is coming,
And then he
and
wastes
and
it.
and I like that Kong is more. I like that gave Kong a little more emotional depth of, man, it's great that I'm here, but I'm kind of alone. You know what I mean? You know, the one man island and all that good stuff. So there were some cool story elements to it
Mhm.
that I appreciated. So just leave it at that for now.
What about you, James? Did you like Bachelor Kong? Did you like?
I mean, as the only fan of the Bachelor, ABC's Bachelor series here on the podcast, this was a terrible reboot or remake of that. Um, Going back to your point about how we tend to cram the human story element in these kaiju monster movies. Actually, Michael Bay Transformers is also victim to this too. Like in all those movies, you
Yep.
cram these humans who are running and screaming and quickly typing something, and for whatever reason they're relevant in the key moment. Again, that was a takeaway from this movie. The other thing that I didn't like so much was I thought the CGI. I think Chris, you're an expert at this, subject matter expert. I thought it wasn't consistent throughout the movie. There were some scenes where it looked crisp and like sharp, and there were some scenes that looked like a PlayStation cutaway, in between video games, which was distracting to me. The plot, the pacing, I don't know. Like maybe there was a couple of rewrites that I'm not aware about, but it feels like again when you see the trailer, you think, okay, there is some sort of threat that's going to come on Earth that requires these two guys to team up, right?
Mhm.
So at first it was the Scar King, and then it was like, okay, it's the Scar King plus Shibu, and then we bring in Mothra, and then the whole story with Mothra's people and that underground. That's when to me I was checking out the movie. I was sitting there, and by the way, I had recruited one of my best friends who lives in my town who hates going to movie theaters. So we went as a whole family unit. My son, his two sons, his girlfriend, another kid, and I chose the movie. I paid for it. I chose it. Other than popcorn, this was me bringing him to our geek world. I'm like, yeah, this movie's gonna be at least a B plus. Yeah, we walked out. I was like, last time we let James pick a movie. I
Wow,
was
No.
that
begging for
bad,
it
huh?
was like I was begging for the fire alarm. I mean, and that's it in a nutshell. I don't want to get we got a lot more to unpack here, but to me, I was disappointed a little bit.
So I will say real quick, I forgot about Mothra, but I like Mothra. Like I like Mothra in King of the Monsters as well. Like she's that non-violent, like, yo, what the hell are you guys doing? The voice of reason for
Neutral party,
Godzilla, right?
neutral party,
Yeah.
Voice of reason
So
and power up,
chaotic,
right? Those are
yeah,
good
chaotic
things.
neutral, but you know that.
right.
So, like I said, for me, this is like a tale of two halves. And with these movies, and if we'll get to minus one hopefully later, quick. And if we go back to things like the original Predator or Terminator, or even kind of the first Transformers to an extent compared to the other Transformers movies, is simplify. Like when they try to overcomplicate these plots is when I think they really tend to fall apart. So the beginning I thought was kind of cool. I actually was kind of a fan of the humans this time because it was the little girl who was from the Kong Skull Island people, which still my favorite of these movies, and her connection with Kong and whatever, and her trying to fit in while Kong is trying to fit into his new space where he's kind of lonely and she's feeling left out. And that all works together. See, you got these two storylines that are going their own way, and then you got Godzilla off there, and he's like, some shit's going down. I'm gonna get ready. I'm like, all right, this is simple. This is really direct, simple. I love the story. And then the weird shit starts to happen where they what is it? So you got this whole monkey civilization in another hidden location, not just the center Earth location, but another right,
Hollow Earth.
a double hollow Earth. And but he's not just like one monkey. There's like a whole civilization of monkeys that are slaves. And I just watched the Kingdom of the Apes movie, the war one, where another ape slave master, but this one's got a dragon. Like, okay, why do I have a fucking dragon? But okay. And then not only that, then you have this people, and they're like, oh, we're trying to send out waves of help. We're sending out, but we can't do it. We need the girl, like the girl we didn't know existed, but now we need her to send out the. And you just
who happens to be linked to their own tribe and civilization too,
right? And then it. So I don't know why all that was happening if Godzilla already knew shit was going down and powering up. And then there was a extra fight in there where Kong comes up for help, but Godzilla attacks him just so they can destroy Egypt.
Which makes
for some reason.
That was probably hold on, Chris. That actually made sense because remember that was stupid. There was a mandate at the end of the last movie. This is my turf. That's your turf.
Except this is the problem with overcomplicating the plot. Godzilla already knew shit was happening. The natives were already sending out the signal for help.
That's true.
Kong didn't even need to come up here. He needed to stay down there, fight, almost get beat, and then Godzilla shows up and goes, "Hey, bitches, I'm Godzilla," and they defeat the monkey. Like King Louie, that's it. Like simple, direct. You know, I think they just overcomplicated the plot at the end.
I think there was some rewrites. I think they were like, "Yeah, we don't like the first draft. Let's add some more."
Yeah. I thought Ice Dragon was cool though. Ice Dragon looked cool.
It looked cool. I loved Kong like hitting other apes with an ape. Like that was fun.
The baby ape, child abuse.
The baby ape.
That's child abuse.
Oh
no! You know, I mean, it's fun because at the end now Kong has some people, and I'm assuming Godzilla's gonna get busy with the new Ice Dragon.
No, right? Ice Dragon went back with Kong. No,
that's right.
Yeah, Ice Dragon went back with Kong as his pet, whatever it was. Godzilla was just
because Kong was treated. Kong treated Ice Dragon nicely.
And Godzilla went back to the Coliseum to go sleep in Greece.
Peace out, Earth.
Or Rome.
Greece. So maybe the next one will be Kong X Godzilla booty call, and Godzilla will come down to get with it, and then Kong will be like, "No, that's my dog. You can't do that," and they'll fight over it.
Yeah, I don't see where they go from, but I don't know if you're going next. I don't see where we go from this. I don't see what you could possibly do to get us back into the theaters to see another sequel to this. Like I just don't know.
I do want to bring up one thing because James, you mentioned it, the CGI being hit or miss, and I have to say, for the most part, it did look fantastic. When it's just CGI against CGI, when it's just giant ape versus giant ape, when it's Godzilla versus Ice Dragon, that all looks awesome, right? But when they did the whole Mothra and civilization and magic wall and all of that stuff felt a little weird.
The two pyramids and facing each other for
what the hell was that?
Nothing.
Why'd they do that? Like I'm sitting there going,
that somehow they lost gravity when the two connected, and then
But
was like
why? Why is it the
voodoo
here?
science, for lack of a better term. It was just like
Well,
bullshit.
that and like the humans are like, we have to help. No, you don't. You have to get the fuck out of the
Fuck
way.
out of there. There's nothing
You're
you can do.
humans. Move. That's it. Like, stop.
And so they also gave Kong
Oh, the
bionic
power
arm,
glove. The power glove.
power glove.
You know what that
Hey,
is?
by the
As we're getting older, we can see right through it. It's a fucking toy thing. It's for the
it
kids.
Yeah.
is. Dude, it looked
Ooh, he likes it.
it looked cool, but it was like, really, you just he happened to have his hand
That was convenient.
frozen, and you happen to have this thing. Oh, they nixed this one thing, but for some reason, the giant ape, we thought we needed extra power just in case.
That's hilarious.
You know, some budget guy, some bean counters going, what are we spending money? Why the fuck did you build this thing?
Where's Tarkin when you need him?
It's a
That's
toy.
right.
It's like Godzilla.
He's
Hold
like,
on. Like
cut the
Godzilla
budget,
leveling
send it to
up.
the Death Star.
It's the same shit with Godzilla leveling up. That it now all of a sudden you have to get a pink Godzilla instead of the blue one from all the other movies.
Is this a wokezilla?
Oh shit! I wasn't even thinking about that. Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
It's Pride Godzilla.
Dude, I thought the whole idea of, oh, he is so powered up, he is beyond level. He's gonna get there. He's gonna blow shit up. But then they get in a fight with him and Kong instead of him using all this power up he used. Like, it didn't actually do anything. It never went anywhere.
You know why that doesn't make sense? It's not consistent with some of the earlier movies where he's leveling up by eating a nuclear bomb and his entire skin is irradiated and his smoke and is bellowing. Now he kills other titans, absorbs their
very
power,
specific Titan. Yeah,
and
right,
the only
yeah.
thing that changes now is his spine now goes pink instead of blue. To me, that's just a toy. I mean, I'm not stupid. Like,
Yeah.
and
You know, I'm totally against buying toys, so definitely. Anyway, all right, let's. What's your grades for Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire?
I give it a C minus. I give it a C
Sounds
minus.
Yeah, I'm gonna do better. I give it like a C plus, B minus, probably a C plus.
Don't you dare say B minus.
I'm gonna go with Mike on this one. I think C plus because I really like the first half, but I can't go in the B's with how much it just fell apart in the second half. It really just
They had us in the first half. Not gonna lie.
That's right.
They didn't have me the first 20 minutes or so. 30 minutes. The first 30 minutes.
All right, that's a quick one. I want to thank everybody for joining us.
We're just gonna take a break and we're gonna talk minus one, aren't we?
Yeah, but now you just
I figured
you
you
just
wanted
spoiled
to split
it.
into two.
Yeah, like,
So I was going to shut down and we do two pods.
Yeah,
but
Mike.
you want to do
No, I'm just gonna keep it as one Godzilla pod. So
Okay, so then
Yeah.
I'll change that up. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back, and we're going to talk more Godzilla. This
The
time, he
better
makes
one.
people cry.
the best.
Greetings, we are back to talk about the big lizard, Mr. Godzilla, this time in the form of the Japanese movie Godzilla Minus One. Came out late last year. I did miss it originally. It is now out on Netflix. It did pull in a cool $115 million worldwide on a much discussed $15 million budget. Directed by Takashi Yamazaki. I think sounds right. Who is also part of a three-man writing team. But this one is a much simpler tale. Than there are no giant monkeys to fight and no underground worlds to be a part of. This one's about a kamikaze pilot, Shikishima, who, ashamed of not sacrificing himself, returns home to a post-World War II Japan to find everything destroyed. Attempts to rebuild his life, but that is interrupted by Godzilla, a monster of war that threatens everything he attempts to rebuild. All right. So this has made a lot of waves, especially I'm seeing right now on Netflix as it's released, that stream of social media posts about how great this movie is. and I tend to agree with them. I posted my review, my quick little uh, Twitter review on it, and I really like this film. It was a surprise though, because everything in the advertising was very Monster Godzilla, very much like, oh my god, he's swimming, and oh my god, he's powering up, and oh my god, he's destroying a train, right? But then, like, I go into this movie and I find, like, going back to its roots of an existential horror war drama instead of this dangerous benefactor who powers up and eats other kaiju. Like, it was very interesting switch up for me from what my expectations were to what I actually watched. What did you guys think? Did you have the same expectations, or did you know what you were getting going into this?
I don't know. To be honest with you, although I didn't wait as long as you did. Shame, shame, shame.
I was very late. You
Um,
guys told me a couple of times.
it really was word of mouth after like the first couple of weeks, where I was hearing from people that I trusted sources, as Stephen A. Smith would say. Started talking about it and raving about it. Then I was like, all right, let me go give this movie a watch, because I hate reading stereotypes, whether at home or in the theater. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be a something. But I was pleasantly surprised. And I know I did an instant reaction on our Heroes Peak TikTok. So I'm not going to repeat my first reaction, but I think that it was a well crafted story that although I didn't see it, even the trailers don't reveal much, right? But when you see the movie, you kind of appreciate why it was, I guess, marketed the way it was, with a little fanfare, and how to me it was a breath of fresh air from all these other Godzilla Solo, Godzilla Kong, whatever you want to call it. All of these movies, to me, it was a great pivot from those huge kaiju, you know, CGI punch, punch, punch
Mm-hmm.
fest with terrible human secondary, tertiary
What, you
characters.
didn't like Matthew Broderick?
Hell no. Or the fucking P Diddy music that came out of that damn "Come With Me." Oh my god, I did not age well.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I'm glad that I didn't get too much information before seeing the movie, because it really, it allowed me to marinate on the movie a little bit more after I saw it, and I went to see it again on Heroes Peak TV. Then I saw it officially not too long after that.
All right, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a huge difference between this movie and what we get in the American
Mm-hmm.
MonsterVerse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
First off, this is not a movie about a monster as much as it is the human spirit and resiliency and
Mm-hmm.
survival, right?
Right.
Whereas in the American version, it's always there's a good monster and a bad monster, right? So,
Right.
and in this one, Godzilla, you can't even really call him the bad guy as much. He is the bad guy in this movie, but you know, motives are kind of
Right.
you know,
It's beyond
He's like Thanos.
motivations.
He
yeah,
thinks he's like Thanos. He thinks he's on the right.
yeah.
He doesn't agree what's happening. He thinks he's doing the right thing.
And the reason this movie is so much better for me is because the human characters are done properly. They're done right, and their story is done well. So considering that $15 million budget, CGI is I mean, I think we talked earlier. We compared this to Atlas, probably cost $200 million to make.
I think it's
You
only
know,
only 100, I believe.
sorry, $100 million to make. you
I don't
know,
know. I don't do as much as you guys do, but go ahead.
yeah. So if you consider CGI to budget, I would say this was a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, I mean, it's a throwback to it's made by the same company that had been making Godzilla since way back when, right? So
Right.
it's a throwback to those types of movies.
Late 30s.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
early 50s.
I really loved the main cat character at first. You know, you're surprised he comes in and he's obviously just a guy afraid of dying. Like very honest, very direct, and you're like,
Hmm.
yeah, I can get with that. You know, I don't want to waste my life either. And they allow that character to go through all the emotional whiplash of maybe I should have done this thing, whether or not it meant doing anything on a larger scale, but it's what I was supposed to do. It was my job, and you know when he gets back home, the lady from across the street, she basically tells him, "Oh, what the fuck are you doing here? You should have been dead." Like I was like, "Wow, that's real direct," and I love that these characters are allowed to kind of build from there, build from that fear, and not completely erase it. You see him kind of in multiple instances where even you think life is good again for him, he's still in that fear. He's still in the trauma and he can't quite get out of it. And without spoiling anything, by the end, I am telling the TV, do not touch those people. Like, I
You
need them to
care
be
for them, right?
happy. I need them to be happy for me to be happy right now.
That's the difference compared to the MonsterVerse ones. Like, I didn't care who died in the MonsterVerse movies, right?
Well, I never expect that kid
Except maybe
in
the
the
little girl.
I never expect her to be in danger at all.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Another instance of a terrible child actress. The
Oh, I'm
streak
not going to go
continues.
that far.
I
She didn't really get much to
Yeah,
do.
I don't think she was terrible. I wouldn't say she's
Oh,
Oh my
Oscar.
god!
she's
She's
Some
not
scenes
Oscar
she's not
winning
even looking.
anytime
She's
soon, but
looking at the other actors, and she's talking, and she's not even looking at them. Come on.
she's not talking. She's deaf. She's
yeah.
sign language.
No, she
Remember
was making faces.
what?
The
The
girl
point
in
was she wasn't even looking at them. She was looking off screen. I'm like, did they like
that's
film this a
direction.
couple
Yeah,
times?
that's the director's fault,
Yeah,
not
if a
her.
director can't get someone to look in the right
Be
position, well,
like,
I don't
cut.
Anyway,
blame them.
Do me a
let's.
favor, little girl. Can you actually look at the camera?
Anyhow, go ahead.
Anyway, but yeah,
No,
that.
but
Mhm.
just to add real quick, like you're right. Like you care about these characters, and they managed to build tension in this movie. You know, like you start to worry,
Tension.
like,
What
oh my
kind of
god,
word is that?
yeah. They actually
Oh,
build
Dracula.
suspense. When
Oh,
Godzilla's chasing them in the boat and stuff, and they're
Hmm.
trying to shoot the
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 mine.
mine, and yeah, like some great scenes there.
yeah. Let me interject real quick because I know I said I'm not going to repeat what I said on the TikTok instant reaction, but you guys you're already starting to broth. You're already putting the rest, the ingredients in the pot. The one thing that I took away from the movie immediately when I came out was it kind of did an amalgamation of two things, right? The original 50s and early 60s Godzilla movie that was closer to what Jaws was in mid 70s when it came out as a blockbuster, right? You don't have the full special effects budget. You rarely see the shark until near the end.
Hmm.
The Godzilla that we saw in the beginning of the movie was a smaller reptilian based form, and then after this killed the first time and bombed the second time, then it grew to much larger, and then like its facial features, the scaly, the plastery thing, and then the way it moved through the city just felt frightening, like Jaws, right? Now, on the human side of the story, I said this that I was getting vibes of the movies of Flowers of Iwo Jima, or Letters from Iwo Jima, and Flags of Our Fathers, where if you watch those movies, the main narrative has to do with some of the soldiers having survivor's guilt,
Hmm.
losing some of their comrades, and it continuing on in the mission after and after. And the movie does a great thing in the third act where it kind of coalesces all of these different former World War II soldiers who were felt defeated because again we know how the story goes. They lost the
Hmm.
war. Now they're defending their country. They're not defending an emperor. They're defending the country.
Hmm.
So again, that whole military soldier at arms, how they came in collectively to me, that's the vibes that I got, and I think that's what made the human element so great because you're giving us a great story in itself with the big plaster freaking monster going through jaws and killing, rampaging and stuff. I mean, That's cinema, guys. That's cinema.
Yeah, it's definitely well constructed, more streamlined storyline, and it didn't try to go off on multiple multiple character arcs on multiple people all over the place. It felt very, hey, I know what I want to do. I know the story I want to tell. This is how Godzilla affects the main story and why he's here. And it works perfectly. It does exactly what you want it to do. You know, keeping the sets small, keeping the locations specific. You know, every time you go back to their little house, I think it told so much of a story about them, about their life, not just about the main character himself, but his girlfriend or live-in mate, whatever you want to call it, Noriko, and the kid Akiko.
That was weird, but yeah. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot to it. Again, his fear and his trauma is preventing him from making that connection. You
Right.
know, and so
Yeah.
even as his little house gets built and better and more organized and more secure, he never feels that security internally, and it's
Yeah,
just
he still has those nightmares.
so
With his own
good.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, fantastic. Whew. I mean, is there anything specific you guys want to call out about this movie that you wanted to say?
Yeah. One other thing,
Mhm.
because this is where you and I we always go back and forth on this. You always comment on the visuals and special effects. I always comment on the music and score.
Mhm.
I think this movie did a fantastic job also scoring certain scenes with the music that was kind of like under like the third act particularly I'm thinking of right now off the top of my head with the boats when they're trying to execute the strategy and there's music, there's undertone of music being played that's not too, it's not like a Christopher Nolan but then as we're getting to like the final moment then the music actually picks up and replaces the voice audio. A moment of silence, again we're not trying to spoil it,
Mhm.
you know, when we get to the climax of the third act, it's just pure silence for a couple seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Boom, and then I thought that was a great job from whoever whoever's behind the score of the movie did
Mhm.
a fantastic job there as well. And I don't think they won anything for that. They just won for
They won for visual effects an Oscar. Yeah.
effects, yeah, Oscar.
And I'll say
Um,
on the visual effects front, like Mike's mentioned before, like the per dollar effect is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to pretend that if an American movie came out looking like that they'd be like, these are the greatest effects of all time. A lot of American, you know, social media um, movie people, they're like, they have this idea of what they think they see on screen versus what's actually on screen a lot of times, and they'll see, well, they'll say things like,
yeah, I know, I know.
what did we just watch? Kong X whatever.
Yeah,
And they're like, this looks like shit. It actually doesn't look like shit. It's pretty good. Kong looks consistently great throughout that movie. Godzilla looks consistently great. Are there bits and pieces I thought were weird or didn't fit or
yes, yes, there
yes.
are, yes, there
It's
is.
almost impossible to make a perfect movie at that size with those kind of things.
But
But this looks good. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, but it looks really good. And because I don't care, because I'm invested in the characters, and Godzilla looks good enough within its frame, I'm not spending any mental energy thinking about it while I'm watching it. It's not,
Mm.
right? It's not so bad that it's like, oh, that's a rubber doll. That's funny. I'm not spending any time on that. It's not like, oh my God, I think there's a real monster in the water. It's not that level. It's right perfectly where it should be, which is he looks really good. I think it feels like he's there, and I'm worried about the character. And
Chris, here's my counterpoint to what you just
mhm.
said about the American audience and your take on what you think. I actually think it's different. I think because as we had this battle online on Civil War,
Mm-hmm.
like if you guys remember, and Mike probably does, maybe not so much you, Chris. In the beginning of the Arrowverse with Arrow and the Flash, those first couple of seasons, they had shitty special effects, right?
Mhm.
And even some points of choreography wasn't great. Not the first season or so. It got better in the middle of the season. The fighting choreography, the effects were always bad. It got worse later on as it got more, which baffles me. But people tune in. We Americans tune in week after week because of the characters and the story that was well executed, well written. I think the American audience is probably tired of CGI fest because if you read the biggest complaints in some of these Marvel movies and DC movies, other than the fact of the woke agenda, is the CGI, right? Big third act CGI, beam in the sky.
All right. I'll counter that with
But the only reason why
Yeah.
people are focusing on those is because the stories suck. So
No,
everything is
I
everything
don't
obvious.
think so because I don't think
You have a magnifying
I don't
glass on
think
these
the
movies.
average person cares. There's an audience that cares, but they're
Mhm.
picky. Most so do you remember
No, I don't think you got my point. My point is they don't care if the story is good.
Okay,
That's my point.
Rogue One. Do you remember watching Rogue One? And do you remember watching that bit with Leia at the end? And when
Yeah,
Creepy
that's right.
face. Yeah.
when you went, oh, right?
Yeah.
As soon as she
Dude,
came,
that wasn't even the worst part. Tarkin was terrible
Tarkin was
right,
too.
terrible
right.
too,
I
right?
agree. I
Yeah.
immediately was like, oh my god, everybody's gonna say something. Not a single person brought that up.
We didn't.
They don't.
Yeah. No.
And then
But that's my
I
point,
asked people, and they said, oh, I didn't notice.
Chris. That's my point. You're focusing on the budget being the
But
handcuff.
you would say
I'm
that
saying
except for
no,
the
it's not
fact
the
that
budget.
people go into the CGI sucks discussion before things release. So we had
Oh, I don't know
there
about
was a
that. Yeah, I don't know
giant
about that.
discussion about She-Hulk being shitty CGI before the thing ever got out the door, before anybody saw a moment of film, because they're looking for something to yell about.
All right, so that's a whole other fringe.
And
Okay,
She-Hulk
that's
is an
yeah.
amazing feat of CGI craft. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
There are some scenes that are
Yeah,
bad, but in general, a fully CGI human
that's a whole
interacting
different.
on a
Yeah,
regular basis is an
I'm not
amazing.
gonna entertain that group of people that just automatically have to shit
But
on a
that's what
show
I'm
before
saying.
they. Yeah.
It's there are different groups of people who shit on CGI. I'm trying to say a lot of times right now, and it's not just about CGI. I think we all can agree that on social media, people will overreact in one direction or other, depending whether they like something or dislike something. And sometimes it takes something like this, like Minus One, which has no allegiance for these crowds to be honest about what they see, and they can be happy and tell you it's good and it'd be right. But as soon as something gets an IP name on it, DC or Marvel or Star Wars
Fast
or
and
whatever,
Furious, and Transformers, and
right?
Mm.
People, I mean, Transformers has some of the best CGI, to be 100% honest, in some of those movies. And
some of the earlier movies you can't even tell who's who transforming. Like
That's
who the fuck is
that's
this?
direction. That's not.
that's a choice. I
Yeah.
think the CGI is fantastic.
It's always been my problem with those movies is the direction of it. But I
All
thought the
right,
CGI
I'll
looked
give you that.
fantastic. Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, this
I'll
is a
give you
completely
that.
different discussion. We got pretty far off
Gotcha.
the track.
My
All
bad.
right,
My bad.
let's give our grades for Godzilla Minus One.
A minus.
Okay.
Yeah, this is an A movie for me.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go A.
You know what? I'm bumping to A too.
I-
There you
The reason
go.
why I went down to A minus after a couple of viewings recently is
Mm.
I felt like there was a lot of dead moments in the middle of the movie that they probably could have cut out, make it a tighter movie, more lean. Like some of the not the Godzilla moments are not the
Mm.
main actor, but like with the mom and the other people coming in, I mean, like, yeah, that's a little too long. And then the whole strategy about how to take down Godzilla, I'm like, yo, you could have just shortened that to like a 2 minute
That could have been a
fucking
lot
scene.
shorter.
That was like 15 minutes.
That was a cool plan, though.
I'm like, me as somebody adjacent to that industry, I was like, yo, I get it, but dude, you got to know your audience. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but I think that stuff is kind of why it's not an A plus. Like, I think there's definitely some tighter, story
Straight A for me.
cutting
Well,
Straight
I
A.
didn't
shit,
give it an A plus because it's so woke. Like the whole movie wasn't in English. Like, come on.
You know, someone who's pretty close to me, family wise, said, "Why does Godzilla look like a thick woman?"
What? Because he's pear shaped? Come on.
Look,
Yeah, it looked like she got BBL. Godzilla would have got BBL. That's why Godzilla's mad.
when Godzilla got up and announced his pronouns, I thought it was over, but the story continued pretty well. No, it was good. It was good.
Godzilla was going to Tokyo to shop.
Nice.
Anyhow,
Whew.
yeah, A. That was good.
Good movie, and we all agree it's an A movie. Everybody should go watch it. There are subtitles, and I believe there is a dub version. I watched the subtitled version.
Oh God, I'm not watching that.
I'm not automatically anti-dub anymore. Sometimes I just don't want to have a dub, and I'll go with the.
Hey, real
sometimes
quick
I don't
before
want
we
a
end
sub, and I'll
this,
go with a dub. But
Chris, before we end this, I know we're keeping it spoiler free, but where do you think they can go?
Why are we keeping it spoiler free? This movie's been out for like almost 2 years now.
Well, I don't know. We haven't touched on specifics, but real quick,
Godzilla
where do you think they can go? Where do you think they can go now? Because obviously, after the Oscar and the critical acclaim and the huge financial windfall for the studio, you know there's got to be a sequel being greenlit somewhere, or at least talks about it.
I would hope that if it does get a sequel, the director would have the next thing he wants to say. Like, this very much had that, hey, I'm talking about war, survival, trauma. These are the topics I want to cover with the Godzilla, storyline. So, what's his next thing that he wants to say that's important to him? Does he jump really far in the future and talk about some modern social problems or political problems within his universe? Because Godzilla's a forever creature, basically. You can put him anywhere at any time, following obviously his origin here. So he could talk. This creator could talk about anything, within this time frame.
As you're talking, when I'm thinking, and you tell me if I'm way left field here, they can actually use Marvel does with the Incredible Hulk, where he's like, yeah, he's a monster wrecking shit, but he doesn't want to. Like, he just wants peace, and the
Every
humans
time
are
the humans,
constantly
yeah,
bombarding them. They're sending the Navy after him, and he's just trying to find peace and rest. And he just feels like he has to do what he has to do.
yeah. There's
Like,
a lot.
the Frankenstein's monster. Thank you. That's what I was thinking. Frankenstein's monster type of thing. Humanized Godzilla the same way you had a great human story. Actually, put that on the monster itself.
Could absolutely work.
Oh, Mike is looking like, yeah, James is cooked.
So, but meanwhile, in the American Monsterverse, our next movie is going to be Godzilla versus Predator.
Fuck that. Right.
Could a group of predators take down Kong? Not Godzilla, Kong.
Possibly.
Question. Think about it. All right, we should get going. It's kind of late.
Yep.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Feel free to follow us on our socials. Mike, where can everybody find us?
So we are all over the place on the internet at Hero Speak. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I don't know. Where else? Everywhere.
Hey, what's that MAGA platform?
Truth Social.
Truth Social.
True Social. What's it called, Chris?
I was going to say Blue Sky, but that's not the MAGA one. That's
But
like the opposite of the MAGA one.
I'm joking.
Yeah. And don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and
Ding,
to hit the bell for notifications. Leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of the Godzilla movies.
Yes, please leave a comment.
And
leave a comment.
Can a group
There's
of
only
predators
one or two
take
folks
down King Kong? Yeah.
There's only 2 or 3 folks who are consistently leaving comments. Let's get some more audience participation, please.
And we appreciate
it really helps
you
our algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Wait, what did you just say, Chris?
I said we appreciate you if you do.
Thank you.
Yep, exactly.
All right, guys, you have a good night.
All right.
See you later.
Night.
Later.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.